It is official. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have had their that's right, third flop in a row for Netflix. We have Live to Lead, Heart of Invictus, and now Polo is joining the ranks as another really bad offering from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. As it turns out, they're really not very good at content creation. And we have a slew of terrible reviews for Polo that demonstrate that Harry and Meghan have one of the worst qualities, I think, for creators is that they're simply boring. Their content is boring. That is what you see time and time again. But looking at this in a different way as well, from a business perspective, I think one of the biggest things is that there is no vision for this show, much like there is no vision for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's post-royal life. They seem to just want money, not to really work at it. And then when you look at Polo, I'm like, what is the vision for this? Well, Harry and Meghan gave us one allegedly through one of their executive producers who talked about how they wanted to make Polo more accessible to people, basically, and show the casual side. I'm like, but you totally failed at that. So what was the vision? Because obviously, I don't think they really had one. So this is definitely worth exploring because oh man, 3 flops in a row and you have a $100 million Netflix deal? Oh yeah, you betcha. That's gonna go away here pretty soon. So we're gonna get into it, but if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary to everyone. So if you guys would like to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. We have an amazing fun time here. And I did just want to shout out as well, although I don't have it with me, my Ana Lucia jewelry cleaner. I'm sharing some video that I took for you guys earlier in November, and I just absolutely love this jewelry cleaner. I love the look at it because it's just so pretty. So pretty with the diamond and everything. And it really does a fantastic job at cleaning your jewelry. Obviously, since I'm traveling for 3 weeks and I've already accumulated way too much stuff, I decided I was like, well, probably best to leave it at home. But I can't wait to use it after I get back from traveling because obviously your jewelry tends to get a little grody, especially going through different subway stations and everything. And so it's been such a fun trip, but I can't wait to get back home and get my jewelry all spruced up again with this gorgeous jewelry cleaner. Always good to have a fantastic jewelry cleaner. And it does make as well a great gift for Christmas, especially for any woman, the gentleman as well, because everybody has jewelry and everybody needs jewelry cleaner. That is what makes this gift so desirable, I think, is that it's something that everybody can use. So if you guys are interested, check out the link up above. And it is a natural formula. It smells like roses, so it has a very luxurious feeling to it. And the process is also really simple. You spray the jewelry piece, you brush it with a brush that they give you. You very quickly wash it off in the sink, and then you polish it with the polishing cloth that they give you. And so you end up with an amazing looking piece of jewelry that is refreshed and feels brand new once again. And what I absolutely love about it is that it is a gorgeous looking diamond as well, which features great in my office back at home just to look at and enjoy because it is so pretty. I just want pretty things in my life. So if you guys are interested in that, feel free to check out the link up above. And if you use code ROYAL20, you shall save 20%. It would also, well, the box is kind of big. I would say it would make it by itself like a good stocking stuffer, but I think you'd have to have a really big stocking to fit that in there. But you can still do that. Maybe just put the jewelry cleaner in the stocking and go, look, here's the box. You can do that too. So anyways, guys, feel free to check that out. I have really enjoyed my cleaner and I think you guys will as well. So go ahead and check that out. And you have to order this weekend because obviously Christmas is coming up so very soon. It's Friday, December 13th. So to make sure you get it in time for Christmas, go ahead and put in your orders and you can cross maybe a gift idea or something off the list that you have. And I do want to tell you guys real quick. So when I recorded this, apparently I have found the hotel with the worst internet imaginable. So most of the quality of the video, at least of me, is pretty bad, which is why you are seeing other video over. But for this section, because you don't need to focus on my face quite so much, and I'm sharing articles, you will see my face a bit, but I will freeze. The quality isn't great. I do apologize. I just didn't anticipate this hotel having the worst internet for my entire trip. I did not anticipate that in the slightest. It's a bit frustrating, but it is what it is. We work with it. So, guys, I hope you guys have a little bit of grace here, but let's go ahead and get back into the video. There are so many things here. There are so many facets. I actually filmed a whole video going over the accessible angle Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had, and then realized my mic had been muted the entire time because there's a little button right here, not muted. And of course, I had hit it. So, that was a bit of a bummer. However, I think this was a good chance because I have actually watched the series now, and I can 100% say this People magazine article, the angle that Harry and Meghan were going for, they completely failed out on. They did not do what they set up to do. And this is from their sort of one of their showrunners. And so it says they were extremely hands on. And I can't help but wonder if he's doing that, going, well, this thing kind of sucks. And so now I can kind of throw them under the bus by saying, yeah, they were extremely hands on. So this is all their fault. You get the sense that maybe what he was saying. And this guy has actually done something really successful, which is Welcome to Wexham. And I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. This was on FX and was on Disney Plus as well. And so he was in charge of this. And he said, they were wonderful. So they had a vision for trying to get Polo to be accessible to a wider audience. So that was apparently, allegedly, the vision, but you don't see any of that vision reflected in the actual show. I feel like it comes across even more inaccessible to people. So it's harder to break into. They talk about how teams need $5 to $10 million per year. Yes, you can spend less than that, but this guy has one of the guys, I call him sort of the jerk. His name's Louis, and he sold his home. He is like traveling back and forth to Argentina to breed polo ponies. So hopefully he can sell them. But it's like, most people can't do that. So how is that accessible to people? It's not. I don't think that came across in the slightest. And it's like, was that even the point? And Harry apparently helped with editing to try to make it look more exciting. And we'll get to a review that I think really pointed out that, yeah, Harry is the only person who enjoys this show, but it's also incredibly boring. So he talks about having this in-house polo expert. And then I wanted to point out as well, too, that it was Meghan who really prepped him for how wonderfully casual polo is. That was Meghan's suggestion. It's wonderfully casual. Sunday polo on field 1 at the US Open is a big to-do where people have champagne brunches and come with their beautiful outfits. But the rest of the week, every polo match is actually so down to earth. It's a lot of people pulling up in their pickup trucks and cowboy boots, not barefoot, with their dogs and their families and their kids to watch the game that they love. They're there to see and be seen, but to enjoy the sport that they really care about and to show people that for free you can just pull up. And she said that's what she loves. But she also failed to do that. There is no focus at all on the sidelines, really. There really is no focus. Yes, you see people on the sidelines, but there's never actually any effort at all in exploring the people on the sidelines. Like, what does it mean to be on the sidelines? And not the people in the regular cast who are already playing polo. Are there any other people who are showing up just randomly in their pickup trucks to watch the games with their kids and their dogs? That would have actually been interesting. Like people who maybe are lower income than the people who are playing polo. But I think they couldn't bring those people because those people just simply do not exist. And so this show obviously just was an absolute failure of a flop. And we have so many great reviews discussing how terrible this show is. So we got The Guardian here. It says Polo Review, Prince Harry's unintentionally hilarious profile on the world's stupidest sport. That's just what you want to see if you're Netflix, right? And so it talks about what Harry and Meghan claim to want to bring when they signed this deal with Netflix. And so many reviewers brought this up, which I think is really fascinating to go over, is that they wanted content that informs but also gives hope, utilizing powerful storytelling through a truthful and relatable lens. They have not accomplished any of that. They are not powerful storytellers. They are terrible at selling stories. All their stories are boring. I said it in my review video. Their entire series, out of the 3 of the 4 series I've seen, because I didn't even give Live to Lead a shot because it looked incredibly boring. But the issue they have every time is that everything is boring, bloated, and unfocused. They have too much content. It's unfocused. There's no overall narrative, and it tends to be really boring. And Polo fit that to a T. I mean, in terms of bloatedness, one of the things I thought was just so weird, and it was totally self-serving. It served no point in the story. It was entirely self-serving to Meghan Markle to try to prove yet again that she's fluent in Spanish when we all know she's not fluent in Spanish. She knows Spanish. She can speak let's say a decent level of Spanish, but she's not fluent in Spanish. So, but they had this whole bit where she had this interaction with this guy and spoke a little bit of Spanish. And like her grand contribution to her time in Argentina is to say, I like Argentina Day on May 25th. That's like all she could say. And there was no reason to put that in there. Like literally it served no purpose. It was pointless, but it served Meghan Markle. And that seems to be all that matters. And so if you're only serving yourself and not serving the overall vision of the show, you are going to have issues. And so the Guardian definitely didn't like it. I think in the end, we get a good bit because they always share their good sort of gotcha things at the very end. And he says, mainly though, Polo looks destined to fall through the sub menus into obscurity at the speed of light, and rightly so. It's clattering and niche and feels like a spoof documentary designed to play on screens in the background of episodes of Succession. The end of the final episode goes out of its way to tee up a sequel, but I really don't think any of us deserves that. Here's hoping the cookery show does better. And I don't think that will do better either. It's just not good. It's just not good. And so next we have The Telegraph, which gave the series 2 out of 5 stars. So Polo review, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and Bafflingly Little Harry. Now, I don't understand people's criticism that there's not more Harry and Meghan, because I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's what they should have started off with. If they are true creatives, they don't need to be in front of the camera. In fact, I think them shoehorning themselves in at the end was particularly just off-putting because it just didn't make a bunch of narrative sense, to be quite honest, especially again Meghan's bit of going, oh, I do speak fluent Spanish, here's me speaking Spanish. I think Harry believes she speaks fluent Spanish, but he also probably thinks he speaks fluent English or has a good grasp on reality, and the guy just doesn't. So Netflix and Archwell team up for a tedious inside look at posh Polo, and for once, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex don't have the limelight, which is good, which I think is actually good, but has a great sort of gotcha thing at the end. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this series, but not enough of the Sussexes to make this anything other than a dull indulgence about a rich person's pursuit. This horsery hiccup is another bad nay day for the Sussexes and their media ambitions. And that's good. That is good. There's just not a lot here. And Harry and Meghan are not good at this. They're just not. And they could have made this interesting. Here's the thing. You can make anything interesting. You can make anything interesting if you have good people behind the cameras, good people running the stories. So actually a great example recently that I've seen is there is a new series it's actually a new movie on Netflix, and it's like the biggest heist or something. And it is technically like it was stealing of Bitcoins that were when the authorities finally tracked down the people were worth like $4 billion. So it's an insane amount of money. And it was like imagination was automatically captured because they started talking about the woman in this series, and she's like had this weird like rap profile and personality and everything. So it was actually pretty interesting. But Harry and Meghan just can't seem to make things interesting because it's all in how you tell the story. It's not just in, oh, this is interesting. It's how you tell it. Like being a good storyteller takes talent. It's a refining process. And they're clearly not good at it. Not to mention the fact, I don't think they have people around them who tell them no or tell them, hey, you suck. Now, that might seem harsh because I guess you probably shouldn't tell people they suck. But I think Harry and Meghan, it would do them well to have somebody that goes, hey, that idea kind of sucks. I don't feel like they have anybody around them who tells them that. And you can't get better without editing. That's one of the things I learned from writing for many years is that you don't get better if somebody doesn't edit you. If somebody doesn't edit you, you can't do better. And you like to do better is like a really good thing. It's a really good thing to get better. I don't think Harry and Meghan want to get better. I think they think they're perfectly fine and that everything's good, but like clearly it's not. It's not working. It's not working. And they need to figure out a different career. And they're starting to already do that because they're already starting to pivot into different careers. Because Meghan's going to be an entrepreneur and Harry's going to be a philanthropist. So they're already looking at new careers. Why? Because they failed out of this one pretty bad. So I can't show you guys this full article because I'd have to subscribe, and frankly, I don't want to. But the Cuts title is Harry and Meghan's Projects Can't Stop Flopping. And they're right, they can't stop flopping because Harry and Meghan are unfortunately really bad at what they're trying to do. And they might be able to get better if they maybe had better people around them or what have you, but they don't have better people around them. They don't know what they're doing. And it really does come across after a while that they just can't seem to get their act together. And Netflix is not paying $100 million for you to not make the top 10. And I may try to find this at the end, but I don't know what it's called exactly. But there was actually a recent story in Hollywood because of J.J. Abrams, who started famous for Star Wars and Star Trek and a whole like Lost and a bunch of different series. He has signed a new deal with Warner Brothers at a steep decline from what he did in like probably 2020, 2021. Because around the time Harry and Meghan signed their big deal with Netflix, it was a time where all studios were signing people to mega deals. And most of those deals haven't really resulted in the dividends that anybody in the studio system wanted. So what they're going to start doing is scaling back because they can't overindulge in that anymore. They don't have the money. They don't have the capital. So they have to pull and rein everything back in. And Harry and Meghan, of course, are going to be casualties of that. I have no doubt they are not going to get a renewal of their contract. And if they do, it's going to be like at $10 million and not $100 million. Why? Because they squandered the opportunity. I don't think still, even with them having a super huge success, that they could spurn it into another $100 million deal. I think that would still be pretty remote. But I find it utterly baffling that anybody could think not only that they would get a second season, because I've seen Sussex Squad people going, oh, I can't wait for season 2. It's like, stop lying. In my opinion, at least, like, stop trying to prop them up. It's not working. But as well, even if they get an extension, it will not be at the same price level because not only can studios not afford that anymore, they've had an obvious dismal track record. This is 3 flops in a row. 3. They have only had one success, and it was trading off their world titles. Nothing else has worked. And the whole Hollywood system is aware of that. And the whole Hollywood system is like, okay, so we're running out of money. And they are. The studio system is running out of money. They were flush with cash for a while, but now all of those streams, those revenue streams are drying up. They overextended, like so many different things. The content is unwatchable in a lot of new Hollywood stuff. So Hollywood is suffering quite a bit. And so they're not going to waste more money on Harry and Meghan, 2 people who cannot put a good show together. And I don't know, it's Richard Eden who keeps saying this, but I don't believe this at all, that Netflix is part of Meghan Markle's American Riviera Orchard merchandising plan? No, they're not. I can't fathom that Netflix would have anything to do with merchandising, like creating merchandise for American Riviera Orchard. That is just a waste of money, a waste of time. That's not what they're proficient in. And I can't imagine them doing that. So that's just my 2 thoughts on there. But let's get to this other headline. This one from the Times. Polo review. Prince Harry has made a TV show only he would watch. I agree with that. Only he would watch it because maybe he is boring and he doesn't understand what good storytelling is. But yeah, it's boring. It's dull. So it says in regards to the show, despite being positioned in the lineage of Netflix sports hits such as The Last Dance and Drive to Succeed, the tediously sincere Polo feels unlikely to take off in the same way, although who knows? Between explaining to us about chukkas and the endless nonstop statements about winning, it does seem to have one suitably big character in Louis Devereaux or Devereux. And he is, I would somewhat agree with that. But I like this. Yeah, despite such father-son dramas, it's hard not to shake the feeling that you're watching the equivalent of a large, expensive coffee table book, which is good to look at and just not much there. So I like this, how it ends with, still, if you were to say Prince Harry, it would no doubt be the most compelling thing on TV, because Prince Harry does not know storytelling. He does not know shows. And I found this interesting because I kept watching the Rotten Tomato to see how that comes together. Prince Harry is obviously on there now. And if you go down to their TV, Polo, I think it's actually maybe even ticked up since I first looked at this. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, it has ticked up by 1%, the audience score. So I think the Sussex Squad is furiously trying to increase it. But Polo has just a 17% like. Live to Lead, 15%. Harry and Meghan, 19%. So actually, Heart of Invictus did the best. And I would argue it's probably the best of their offerings, to be fair. The pieces about Ukraine, I think, are especially compelling. But again, it lacked focus, it was bloated, and it was boring at times too. And Polo, not much better here. Not much better here. And the critics, it's so uninteresting that even it's not even generating a critic score yet on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know why. I think it has probably enough. But it's funny the Sussex Squad will go out of their way to find like some bare bones basic like positive story for the couple or positive review. And so this is what you had for Meghan. Now, when I first looked at this, it was actually 1915 and like thing. So see the downward spiral, but these aren't good. And yes, you could say, because this is Meghan's profile. And so you have Meghan, Harry and Meghan, Live to Lead, and Polo. So her last three offerings to Netflix, you could argue, have been absolute catastrophes. Now, granted, Harry and Meghan did well. That is because it was a series that went behind the curtain of the royal family. So, of course, it was going to do well. But the rest, no. No, the audience is increasingly tuning this out. And the audience scores here, yes, some people who don't like Harry and Meghan are just going in and downvoting stuff and without watching it. And I get that. But I think it's a lot of other people too, because the most consistent thing you see in every single review, which I think are honest reviews, is that it is boring because it is boring. The characters are mostly dull. Louis is just a jerk. So he would maybe work in some sort of salacious, like Real Housewives type of thing or situation. But I don't really think he works here in Polo in that way. And I'm like, I think he turns the audience off, or at least he turned me off. I found him to be, you could argue, quite obnoxious. And so all of this together is just not boding well. And here, let's look at the IMDb, because this is another place. And the audience score here, it has a ratings of 2.6%, 1,000 ratings, which is not that much, by the way, but not that much. And you see here, Sussex Squad over here trying to give it 100%. And you could say monarchist or anti-Harry and Meghan crowd giving it 1 star. Now, I would probably give it, if I was to do an honest review, give it in the maybe 3 to 2 star range, because honestly, it's not good. It's just not good. But I point this out because Harry and Meghan are so polarizing. This is what you get for anything they do. You get the small cadre of people who absolutely love it because they're Harry and Meghan stans, and that's all they care about is boosting up their people. And since there are only 436 of them, you could guess it's not a very big crowd. And then you have the anti-Harry and Meghan crowd, and these are the people who actually cared enough to go into IMDb and rate things. They're 456, but that group is much higher because we've seen the ratio on YouTube videos get into like the single digit percentiles. And so if I'm a company looking at this, I look at this polarization and I think, is this ever going to be fixable? Is this ever going to be fixable? Because it's hard to invest in people, not only who have a very polarizing public reputation, but the kiss of death, I think, is a lack of talent. Hollywood is willing to forgive a multitude of sins. We've seen this with like Roman Polanski and Woody Allen. Like Hollywood is willing to forgive a multitude of sins until they can't anymore. But when it comes to talent, that is the key. Why Roman Polanski and Woody Allen continue to work for so long, especially considering everything going on with Woody Allen, obviously he has been now sort of canceled, is that they created good content and content that people gravitated towards. And because of that, people were like, well, they're controversial figures, but this is good, so we'll let it go. Hollywood is that kind of industry. Harry and Meghan, not only is their stuff not performing well, it's just bad content. And Hollywood is a industry that thrives on creativity. And granted, they've lost a lot of that, I would argue, the last 10 years because they've gone so hard on DEI that it's made things unwatchable because everything has to hit so many different quotas and stuff that the stories no longer have an organic feeling because they're trying so hard to be so inclusive that you actually lose storytelling in the process. But that's not Harry and Meghan's problem. Harry and Meghan's problem is that they don't know what the story is. They don't know what the story is. And even when they had showrunners to help them, if they either the showrunner himself was just like, well, I can't say no to Harry and Meghan, so I'm just going to let them do whatever they want. Or so bad the showrunner really couldn't help it. But I think really the thing is that people feel like they can't tell them no, which surprises me because they don't have that much leverage, to be quite honest. And maybe the guy's just doing it for a payday, who knows? But they're getting to the point where nobody's going to really invest in them anymore because they have a dismal track record. The track record is not good. They've been doing this for 5 years now. The track record of products is not great, and because of that, there's not gonna be much future for Harry and Meghan here in this industry. There just isn't. They're obviously already knowing that and pivoting. They're trying to pivot. But the excessive lifestyle that Meghan Markle needs in order to be fulfilled is not something that can be earned by American Riviera Orchard or Prince Harry doing his philanthropic rounds. They need massive infusions of cash. And Meghan is just, I think, too lazy to do it. And Harry, too. They're both lazy. They're both untalented, I would argue, in this sector. And you see the result in this third flop in a row. And you look at the last couple. Live to Lead was literally something they took from somebody else that was basically done, slapped themselves in it a little bit, and then threw it up. And of course, it didn't even like register at all. Like nobody watched that. Have Heart of Invictus, which had its good moments, but was an overly bloated story. Sometimes it focused too much on Harry. And I didn't really get what the purpose was. And I don't feel like it sold the Invictus games very well, to be quite honest. And then you get to this one, which has the same issues that have been there since the beginning. Because even their show, Harry and Meghan, yes, it did well because of the royals, but it was still bloated, it was still unfocused, and it was still boring at times. It was really boring. And this is now a consistent issue and it has to come back to them because I think they've had different showrunners, different producers every single time. And we're still going back to the same core issues, which must mean that it's Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan are boring, unfocused, and want to bloat their series with unnecessary things. They don't know how to streamline. Like one of the best things you can do in the editing process is take things out. Something's not working, take it out. I've done that. Now, I should do more writing because I do have the Royal Wire, which I tried to keep up with, and I most often don't succeed anymore. But I love the process of it. But writing is something where you have to constantly tweak and take things out. I would love to be actually able to edit these more, but because I try to get them out so quickly, I don't really have any help. I don't have the time really to spend a lot of time editing and tweaking and doing all those sorts of things. I mean, I should, but like I don't really have time to. But Harry and Meghan have all the time in the world. They have all the money in the world, all the help in the world. They should not be having these issues. The only reason they're having these issues is because of Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan are the problem. Harry and Meghan are the reason their projects have flopped. And Harry and Meghan can't get away from that anymore. They have to answer for it. And I feel like their future after this is very uncertain. Arrow is still a concept. It's not even a product yet. And so whether or not that will be massively successful, I mean, I think it's the sole thing they're banking the rest of their careers on is ARO. If it doesn't succeed, what will they do then? They've cycled through everything. They damaged relationships with his family so bad they can't really trade off the royal stuff anymore in the same way. They've tried Netflix, they failed. They've tried Spotify, they failed. Meghan hasn't even come up with a podcast for Lemonada. And I may do this in a second video, so I'll just mention this here. Meghan Markle being photographed partying at a friend's baby shower while her project is failing is not a good look. And she's done this multiple times now. They've refused to promote it and their projects flop and it looks bad. It just looks bad. So we shall see what the future holds. But Harry and Meghan, oh, they've got a boring, dismal track record here at this point. And flop after flop after flop means they don't have the same pull they did. Yes, they still have the titles. Yes, Meghan schmoozes everybody higher up in the food chain than her. But because of these series of failures, and because the products weren't good in the first place, like there's no artistic merit to them, people in Hollywood are just going to be polite, but they're also going to go, well, take your failures elsewhere. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you very soon. Bye.